Hello and welcome to episode 2 of How To with Jack. Today we're going to be talking all about suspension, rebound, and tire pressure. Suspension is what suspends you and your bike and creates a barrier between you and the rough terrain that you're riding on, essentially creating a smooth ride for you. When we're talking about travel, we're talking about how much suspension your bike has, and that's different per bike. I have the Rebound, for example, which is a 150-160 travel. So I have 160 millimeters of travel in the front, 150 millimeters of travel in the rear. Rebound is going to be when you compress your fork or shock, how quickly that returns to its full travel. Tire pressure is pretty self-explanatory, but basically how firm or soft your tires are pumped is going to also act as a separate form of suspension for you. When you sit on your bike, you're already going to be using up some of your suspension. So the first thing you're going to want to do is account for that, which is your sag. And I'll attach a video below because that should be the first thing you do before you play with any of your suspension knobs or rebound knobs. Then to set up your front suspension or your fork, there's going to be a chart on your fork that's going to tell you how many PSIs you're going to want that correlates to your body weight per your own bike. Moving on to your rear suspension or your shock, that's a little easier because you're just going to use whatever your body weight is to match the PSI in your shock. Everyone's a little different, so based on your riding style, you may need to adjust those factors, and that's where volume reducers come in, or maybe adding more PSIs to your shock than your body weight, but that's something that you can just play around with as you ride and feel what your bike feels like. Once you've adjusted for your sag and added PSIs to both your fork and your shock, then you can move on to adjusting your rebound knob, your low and high speed compression knobs, and your tire pressure. I have the RockShox Lyric Select Plus fork, which allows me to adjust high and low speed compression. My high speed compression knob is going to be for any type of big hit like a huck to flat, and my low speed compression knob is going to be for any type of braking bump or anything like a root in the trail. It's nice to have both low and high speed compression knobs to adjust, because if you're riding a trail with big huck to flats and with a lot of breaker bumps, you can individually adjust those so it's not too firm for both or too soft for both. You can have it be exactly how you like to ride for each. Your rebound knob is going to be down here, and that's just going to be, you'll hear it click. If you're riding down a rock garden and you hit the first rock and you suck up some of your suspension like this, you don't want it to stay down like this for when you hit the second rock. You want it to pop back up quickly, and so that's when you're going to want a faster rebound. When you're hitting jumps, like at the jump park at Mount Bachelor, you're going to be in the air for quite a bit longer, and so you have more time for your rebound to readjust all the way to the top, so you can have a little bit of a slower rebound there, and you don't want it to pop you when you're in the air. Don't forget, after you set your rebound here, you also need to set it on your shock. Tire pressure is super rider specific based on your weight and your riding style, but a good rule of thumb is most people have their tire pressure set up somewhere between the 20 to 30 range. A good note is that you're probably going to want your front tire to have a little bit less than your rear just for traction purposes, and that goes for your preference with riding too. If you have more tire pressure, it might make your climbs a little bit more enjoyable, but you're going to lose traction in corners and on the downhill. If you care more about having traction on the downhill, you're going to want a little bit less PSI, but it could make it a little more sluggish and harder to climb. So obviously to pump your tires up, you're going to need a tire pump, but a nice other tool to have is a tire pressure reader, and that way if you're out on the trails and you want to know how much you're putting into each of your tires, you can check it really fast. Also, if you're gonna adjust the amount of PSI in your fork or your shock, you're gonna need a shock pump or a fork pump. Is it fork and shock pump? Just a pump. What do you call this?
Yeah, a shock pump.
Shock pump.
I mean, you could call it a fork pump.
This is so much information. My head is about to explode. So if you have any questions, just ask below, or I didn't do a good job of explaining. I'm still learning all of this while trying to also teach, so I'm sorry if it's confusing. I'm confused learning as I'm making these videos, so doing my best. Thanks for watching. Make sure to stay tuned for next month's episode on bike fit, what to wear, what to carry, first aid gear, pretty much everything that you need to have on you head to toe to on your bike as well.